What's up, and welcome to the DualSense podcast for episode number 156. I am one of your co hosts, Jason. I'm joined, of course, as always, by your other co host who is calling himself this evening on the recording device, Olives Matter. Olives Matter. I see what you did there. He also goes by his given name, which is Travis. Travis, what's going on?
It's been first of all, shout out
Mhm.
to one of our Twitter friends who enjoyed me being upset about Cracker Barrel.
That is my editor in chief, by the way, at Gaming
Really?
News.
That's funny.
Him and several of the other guys used to work at the Honky Bucket, apparently.
Oh, no way. All right, cool. Well, I'm sure they
Yeah,
did well. I'm sure they were 5-star generals. So,
I agree. Yeah, I'm
um,
sure.
yeah. So we got a solid 3.8 on Spotify. I can't imagine it's because of things I say. Anyway,
Oh, I'm probably after Eric gives us a 1, will be like 3.6. But anyway, go ahead.
that's okay. I realized today that I follow too many conspiracy accounts on Reddit, and I don't know what's
Mhm.
real anymore with the alien situation.
Are you just fading into the abyss?
Yeah, I can't tell anymore because I see so many of
Yeah.
these videos because I follow all these subreddits, and it's like
No.
I'm having a really hard time differentiating between, complete fairy
Yeah.
tales and what's actually real and like if the
Yeah.
government I don't know, man. I was really confused this morning. I was like, I follow too many of these accounts. I need to calm down.
No, I'm with you. I'm there with you. The problem is that we're in this space too where you have to question everything because of AI and all this other
Right.
stuff, and then the fact that the government's just admitting to, like, yeah, oh yeah, UFOs, they're real. Like all of a sudden
Right.
they're just all of a sudden it's just fine, just totally, like, for decades they didn't want anybody to know that they exist, and now all of a sudden it's just like, yep, they're there. We've got footage. We know. And so it almost makes you wonder, like, what are they preparing us for?
Did
Like what bomb, no pun intended, what bombshell are they about to drop on us, with aliens and shit?
there was two that really signaled it to me that I was in too far. One was
Yeah.
apparently they captured a ship so big in Korea that they couldn't fly it or something for some reason, and they blew out the side of a mountain like in,
Like an
Kingsman.
Independence Day. Oh,
Yeah,
Kingsman,
or
okay.
yeah, and they just hit it in there, and my brain was like, "Makes sense," and then there was another one, and I forget what country it was, but they're like there was a podcast with this guy, and he was talking about how it was this country in this town, and they had this really big spaceship that was, like, the size of a warehouse.
Mm,
And I guess the propulsion system on it didn't work anymore or they crashed or whatever. He's like, so they had to build a building around it. And then
mm,
within that post, it showed you this huge white building. And then this guy was
mhm.
like, yeah, I went, if you go to Street View on Google Maps, you can see an armed guard standing in front and he's wearing US like military attire. And I was just like, I didn't even think to look it up myself. I was just like, that's real. And I was like,
Yep.
wait.
I know, the same thing, because you and I were talking about that comment or whatever, and it said that apparently, allegedly, on Google Maps, it said that it was labeled as a US military facility, and like you said, had the guards out front or whatever, so it's just like, yeah, it's like, no further investigation needed. That's 100%
Yep.
correct.
Random guy on Reddit. He knows he wouldn't lie.
Yeah, exactly. I saw along these lines, Rogan. I don't even follow Rogan. He just pops up because I keep up like you with so much UFO shit that he tweeted. It's so ridiculous. He tweeted something about UFOs this week, and it was like it was a quote tweet. It was a footage allegedly that someone had, like, zoomed in on an aircraft, and you could see, like, the aliens inside of the craft,
Oh
like,
god,
because
okay.
the craft has windows all of a sudden, right?
Oh, they have to be able to
And
see. They can
yeah,
fly up across space-time, but they can only see through windows, that makes sense.
exactly. And he quote tweeted it, and he said something like, "I've got to." He's like, "I want to believe so bad." He's like, "But I've got to stop this," or something like that. I'm like, "Yeah, I actually agree with him on that one." But yeah, it's a fun time to be alive, right? It was just all these things that we're contending with, pandemics and global financial
Mhm.
downfall, crisis downfalls, and UFOs, and
And Bill Gates
yeah,
released all the mosquitoes, so
yeah, and Bill Gates putting out the mosquitoes and all these bipedal intelligence reconnaissance drones
mhm.
that are around us every day. And
Lizard people are on aircraft now, so it's been a wild week.
dude, we talked about that?
Oh, no.
I fucking love that video.
Can we
by
talk
the
about
way.
how that she's attractive. Can we talk about that first?
Oh yeah, she looks great.
Yeah.
She looks great.
So I'm
She's
just
got a
saying.
lot to be proud of. She looks
Mhm.
healthy, smart.
Yeah. Well, her
Um,
brain doesn't look healthy, but yes.
yeah. Did I sent you the video from TikTok of the guy that was again we're really on the wormhole, but the guy that
Yeah.
was allegedly like 3 rows behind her or two
Right. And of
rows
course,
behind her, but could
yeah.
see
Everybody's
like
like,
what
of
was
course he
happening.
was. I'm like, show me your ticket. Maybe you could probably make that up too. God damn it. See, how do you know?
Yeah, and then at the very end, he said the guy, the hoodie man or whatever, the guy that's not real or a lizard person or whatever, he turned around at him and winked, and he said, "Oh, I didn't notice until I didn't think about it till after the fact, but when he winked at me, his eyelids like blinked horizontally and not
Right.
vertically."
You would notice that immediately.
Dude, you would freak the
Yeah.
fuck
You'd be
out
like,
if somebody
what the
blinked.
fuck is wrong with your eye?
Yeah, that's some Men in Black shit. You'd be off that plane with that woman in a hurry.
Yeah.
That motherfucker back there is not real. Anyway, I fucking love that
Oh, yeah.
video.
She took a couple Xanax and it didn't react well with her system. Is probably what happened.
Yeah, you can't do Wild Turkey 101 and Xanax. You know all
Hmm.
about that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a good time.
Anyway, Travis, we are a PlayStation podcast where you and I get together each and every week to discuss all of the news, rumors, new game releases, and much more in the world of PlayStation. We do it all in under 90 minutes and post brand new episodes every Monday on all the usual podcast services around the world, as well as YouTube, where we share gameplay videos as well. And you can find us on social media, of course. Our primary social media outlet is Twitter, where we go by at the DualSense Pod, but we're also on Instagram and its Threads app, Facebook as well. Our website is called thedulsenspodcast.wordpress.com. Yeah, one final thing here I'm going to add in here. If you do enjoy the show, or maybe you're already enjoying yourself, it's very helpful if you can leave us a rating on whatever podcast app that you're listening on. Especially because we want to get, higher than 3.8 stars on
Yeah,
Spotify.
I want to
So,
be in the force. Did
yeah,
they
if we
leave
haven't
any
pissed you,
comments to tell us why we suck? That'd be
we have
nice.
some. Yeah, true, true. I don't know. I guess you can do comments on Spotify. We have some on
Oh,
Apple, but they're positive on Apple as far as I
yeah.
know. So, without any further ado here, Travis, let's jump into a busy week of news. Starting with number one, the judge in the FTC's case for an injunction against Microsoft regarding the Activision merger ruled in favor of Microsoft this week, essentially allowing the deal to proceed. Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California denied the FTC's motion for a preliminary injunction. Judge Corley summarized her decision in part, writing, quote, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has been described as the largest in tech history. It deserves scrutiny. That scrutiny has paid off. Microsoft has committed in writing, in public, and in court to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for 10 years on parity with Xbox. It made an agreement with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to Switch, and it entered several agreements to, for the first time, bring Activision's content to several cloud gaming services. End quote. However, just when we thought we were getting out, they pulled us back in as reports broke the following day that the FTC had officially filed an appeal of the judge's ruling. Despite that, the temporary restraining order that had been placed on Microsoft lifted on Friday, July 14th, and Microsoft was allowed to push the deal through over the days that followed. To that end, Activision Blizzard King was delisted from the NASDAQ stock index on Thursday, July 13th, in preparation for the completion of the merger. Microsoft moved rapidly to complete the deal as their current agreement with ABK expires on July 18th, after which they could owe Activision a cool $3 billion termination fee if an extension is not agreed upon. Elsewhere, the British Competition and Markets Authority warned that it may need to launch a fresh investigation into the planned merger if the structure of the deal were altered to appease the regulators' demands for approval. Both the CMA and Microsoft are said to be currently in negotiations over how the deal can be altered to appease concerns of British regulators, with the CMA extending the deadline for its final decision on the merger to August 29th. For their part, Microsoft is said to be considering selling some of its UK cloud gaming rights to smooth over the deal in that country. So, just before we started recording, I did see official word that the FTC's appeal was denied. Whatever motion they filed for another injunction was denied. So this is just about officially over. What do you think of all this?
So my first question is, it's in U.S. District Court. So can this get appealed? Like, is PlayStation going to appeal this up to the Supreme Court? Like, how far can this go? Because the 18th is in 4 days from now that we're recording. So
Yeah.
I assume they can't, or they wouldn't have pushed it through. Like, I don't know. I'm a little unclear on that. So that makes me a little. I'm always hesitant with these court decisions where they can get overturned and pushed to another court and so on. It's like, how many rehearings are we going to have to do?
Yeah.
But let's say that this is, if they don't, cool. So, but I think her Judge Corley's summation made sense. Like, Microsoft has publicly agreed to all these things. She made the argument that it does deserve scrutiny, which it did because it's really big. Like anything that's a big purchase like that should be scrutinized regardless. Anytime there's that much money floating around, you kind of wonder. You want to make sure it's not going in the wrong places. So yeah, and I thought her arguments made sense. Like Call of Duty said they're going to do all these things, right? So you know they're saying they're going to do all the things that would keep it fair play, I guess. So
Mm.
cool, that makes sense. But what surprised me is how quickly like they literally dropped that release and then like you know Activision's off the Nasdaq stock index. Like wow, that took 12
Yeah.
hours. I thought that would be harder to get removed from.
Right. You
um
would think so.
like you think you'd have to file like an injunction for that, but whatever.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. It's also really interesting that the verdict comes in right before they owe 3 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they should investigate that.
Mm. Yeah.
That's just
True.
very strange to me. But how does how does my main two questions from all of this? Like, great, they're going through with it, whatever. I want it to be over. But my main two questions are, Europe still hasn't made a decision. The CMA still hasn't made a decision.
Mm.
What if they block it, and then what happens with the
Yeah.
deal? They've already been delisted. Do they
Mhm.
retroactively owe them 3 billion? Does the money have to go back to Microsoft if they get bought? Whatever. And then my last question is, how does Microsoft selling cloud gaming rights smooth over the deal? Because that sounds like bribery to me. Like,
Yeah.
why are we making deals like that? We shouldn't make deals like that. This isn't. This is like fair trade across the board. And if you're selling stuff off to create a quote unquote fair trade, like we already know cloud gaming has a bunch of issues. It's not a
Mhm.
fair trade. Like that's not. It's not. It's apples and oranges. So I think that's. I don't know. I still have questions that aren't answered, but I'd rather it
Yeah.
just be over at this point.
No, I agree totally. I'm glad that it appears to be over anyway. I think that you bring up some valid questions. I honestly don't know the answers, but I think what will happen is if they, the merger goes through this week in the US and, Activision's now a part of Microsoft, but then, a month from now, the Brits decide they don't want to allow it. I think that they would just say, I think they'd have to go back somewhat to the drawing board and figure that out. But I think that it sounds like that's what they're already doing with this whole, selling off the cloud or some of the cloud gaming part of it to what I assume will be a British company. To me, what that sounds like, the first thing I thought about was like, oh, the CMA is making them do this so that they can say that they got to win. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
okay, give us something to make us look good. Like, we have to say that we did something here. So, what can you do for us to give us that win? And that was sounds like it's going to be they're going to sell whatever type of cloud gaming functionality. I don't understand totally, but to some British company that does cloud, infrastructure stuff is what it sounds like to me. And then I can't remember. There's been so much at this point. I can't remember if the European Union has let this through or not. I honestly can't remember at this point, but I'm like you. I'm glad that we're coming to an end. The really interesting things are still yet to come, in my opinion, in terms of it's going to be most interesting to see what the two companies, meaning Sony and Microsoft, do from here moving forward. So, like, now that this domino has fallen, like, there's nothing out of play now that Microsoft's bought Activision Blizzard. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Anything is up to be bought.
yeah, anything in the
Mhm.
gaming industry is fair game. I mean, honestly, at this point, so
Mhm.
I think that's going to be interesting to watch. And I said on Twitter earlier this week, I don't want PlayStation to buy a publisher. Like people are talking about like Square Enix and Capcom or some of these people like this. I don't want them to buy a publisher at all. Like I think what makes a lot more sense is what they have already been doing for the most part, which is by these developers that they have, some relationships with. And there's, some rumors that they might be looking or talking to Arrowhead Game Studios, which are the guys that make Helldivers. And I think that that makes perfect sense. I think if Helldivers 2 hits
Mhm.
and, it sells well and it's well received, I think they'll buy them. And I think that's
Mhm.
fine. I think that makes perfect sense. And I would stick if it was me. I understand from a business standpoint, you got to do what you got to do. But for me personally, what I would love to see them do is just try to abstain from buying a publisher and just focus on more of the developer relationships that they already have. Because my honest opinion is that no matter what Microsoft does and buying Activision Blizzard, I don't think that they still will have the end product that PlayStation has. You know what I'm saying? Because they have all these studios and they still pretty much have nothing to show for it. And the truth is that Starfield, which will be their next big game, was well in development before they ever bought Bethesda. So it's not like they greenlit that project and like, oh, it's look what Xbox did. That's not what it is. So, and it's not like Xbox greenlit Call of Duty 2024 or whatever the fuck. Like, so
Mhm.
it just, you know,
Yeah. They're like
it's
these NBA
underwhelming in a
teams.
way.
NBA teams that buy talent, basically. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the
It's
Suns
like the
didn't draft
Yankees.
Durant,
Yeah.
or the Yankees is a better example. Yeah, they just buy dudes. I
Yeah.
mean, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But what are they gonna? What happens if like EA's like we're gonna split up EA Sports and EA? Like we're gonna keep EA, we'll sell EA Sports off.
Hmm. Yeah. They're good. I mean, that's a very real possibility now because, as you know, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, they're dividing up that company that way. So, but at the end of the day, I guess, long story short, glad for it to be over. We do want Xbox to be a healthy competitor to PlayStation to keep, PlayStation on their toes, for our sake. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Number two, a major shakeup occurred this week at PlayStation's flagship development studio, Naughty Dog, as studio co president Evan Wells announced he would be retiring later this year from the company after 25 years on the job. In his stead, fellow co president Neil Druckmann, the de facto face of the studio lately, will be elevated to president of Naughty Dog all by his lonesome, with other key players at the studio being elevated as well. Eric Pangilinan, and Jeremy Yates will become co-heads of the various art departments at the studio, while Anthony Newman will become head of production and design. Pangilinan has been at Naughty Dog for over 25 years as well, most recently serving as art director, while Yates has been the lead animator on several Uncharted titles. Newman is best known as the co-game director on The Last of Us Part 2. As for Wells, he began his career at Sega working on Toe Jam and Earl back in the day before joining Naughty Dog in the late 90s, where he has been co president since 2007 and has had his hands in pretty much every major release of theirs. Wells said he is leaving Naughty Dog in the best of hands, writing in a statement, quote, I couldn't be more confident in Neil's ability to carry on running the studio. It's the right time for me to provide the opportunity for him and the others on the studio leadership team to steer the studio into a successful future. End quote. What do you think?
25 years is a while to be anywhere. It's kind of hard to imagine, but
For
you
real.
know, of all the executives and presidents and whatever else we've seen leave from studios in the last what 6
Mm,
months,
yeah,
this is like I'm the least concerned with, if that makes sense. Like I feel like Naughty Dog is a pretty solid structure,
sure.
and the guys they have around them have been there for decades. So I don't think they'll lose their vision. I'm not too worried about that. And Druckmann seems to be. I know he's kind of the public face recently, but he seems to be the guy we always hear talking about the
Right.
vision and driving things. So I'd be more worried if they were losing him. Now I could be wrong. Maybe Evan's a guy that just works in the shadows, and
Hmm.
Druckmann's just the parrot. But we'll find out. But I don't
Hmm.
feel overwhelmingly worried about them in this situation. It's funny to me, like when these studios tell you who's replacing these people, they start listing these people off, and they know you don't know them.
Yeah.
So they're like best known for this, and look, like I have no idea who Anthony Newman is. I think that you know Eric Pangilinan. How you say that?
Pan,
Pangilian.
it looks like Pangilinan to me.
Oh, Pangilin, and yeah, so he sailed around the world, one of the first guys to do that. Like,
Uh-huh.
that's what they all sound like to me. Like, you know, I mean, I've heard of Toe Jam and Earl, but, like, I wouldn't have known that I would have had no idea these that Evan was involved in that at all, so,
Yeah.
but no, I think that,
Have you heard of Pearl Jam and Toe?
yeah, it's a good one.
Huh.
Pearl Jam, and my name is Earl. I work with a guy that looks like Crabman. Anyway, yeah, I think you know, long story short, they're in good hands. I think he said it too in his quote, like Neil can take care
Yeah.
of it basically. They'll be all right. I'm not too worried about it. Like it's cool.
Yeah, in terms of your point about, like, who does what, like, what is, is Evan, I guess, how much influence, how much power, how much, gravitas does Wells have at Naughty Dog? How much is he responsible for? Obviously, the answer is a lot, but to me, what it appears to me, I think we can figure out that Druckmann is the creative arm of both of those guys, and Wells seems like more of like the operations part of their kind of co-presidency, if you will, because Evan's not the guy who is doing all the interviews. He's not the guy writing the Last of Us series for HBO, et cetera, et cetera. So it sounds like Druckmann, that creative force, is obviously staying there, and then they're losing sort of their nuts and bolts kind of person, is the way it seems to me. So I have the three people getting elevated, the only one that I've heard of is Anthony Newman, because of his role as co-game director on The Last of Us Part 2. So, I'm sure we'll get to know more about these people in due time. My opinion is that Druckmann will probably take less of a public role directly with the studio and be more involved with like the show itself. And he'll let some of these other people kind of be more of the face from the game side of things. So we'll see. Number three, PlayStation has increased its budget for research and development on its gaming division by 10% this financial year, according to industry analysts at Nikkei, I have no idea, who report that Sony Interactive Entertainment's R&D spend during the current fiscal year ending March 2024 will total around $2.17 billion, or around 40% of its total budget
Mm.
for allotted
Wow. Did they
research
say
and
if they
development this year.
accidentally sent any of that to the Ukraine?
No, they didn't have an accounting error that we
Okay,
know
that's
of.
good. I wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, same. The amount is more than what Sony plans to spend in R&D for both its electronics and semiconductor
Wow.
businesses this year. It is understood that the increase in funding will be spent to help drive PlayStation's push into live service games, which we know Sony plans to produce 12 such games of by the fiscal year ending in March 2026. So, what do you think about spending a buku dollars on live service?
Yeah, typically, what's interesting, I know you know that I hate math, but I really enjoy numbers,
Uh-huh.
which is odd, doesn't make any sense, but, God, that's a lot of money to spend on anything, and,
Yeah.
given we've talked extensively about our issues with live service games, about what they fail to bring sometimes, and how do you
Mhm.
pick one out because it seems like a crapshoot, and then, you know,
Yeah.
you need to spend this type of money, I think, to try to figure it out, like, you're not gonna get there you're not gonna get there quick by just trial and error. You need to spend some money into some development. And now, what are they going to research and development? I don't. Obviously, the market. Obviously, they're going to talk to gamers, but
Mhm.
the research part to me is fairly straightforward. But the development part, I think, is really interesting, and I hope we get to hear some stuff about what they're actually trying to do at some
Mm.
point. Whatever that means. If that means doing something with like, how is the server going to work if these live services are going to move to cloud gaming? Like, they're gonna have to develop
Mm.
all of that stuff. How are they gonna develop these teams that can build off both both aspects of like giving us what we want, but also making it profitable? Like, how do you develop any of that? I don't really understand. The research makes perfect sense to me. Like, you have to. I don't know. They probably got to dump this much money into like how does cloud service gaming work too? If we're gonna go that direction, like they're gonna have to
Yeah.
dump money into all of it. But it's surprising to see it that high to me. But I'm glad they're doing it because I don't know how else you can make the live service have a chance at being successful. I mean, they're making 12, they needed to do something, but
Mhm.
yeah, it makes sense to me. It's just surprising it's that high to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, what do you R&D on live service games, exactly? And I mean, my guesses are you prototype. You can pay for a lot of prototypes of types of live service games. Number one, in terms of like, oh, here's an idea for a game. Does this work? Maybe like you said, you spend a bunch of money on cloud shit. I don't know. We know Sony's always like patenting things, and that's a bad word for me. And so I'm wondering, like, what do you spend $2 billion on in R&D on live service games? I'm just curious. I mean, they might not spend every bit of that on live service, of course, but maybe they could do some stuff with like game engines.
Mhm.
Like dump some more money into the Decima engine that the Gorilla makes and uses for Horizon and whatnot. So that's a possibility, I guess. Anyway, it'll be curious to see the fruits of their labors and of their dollars between now and 2026. Like we've said, they've got to get fucking going, right? Like, I mean, they got to start. They got to start getting in a hurry on some of these. I mean,
Mhm.
Helldivers 2 seems like it's going to be the first one. It may be Wayfinder if you count that. That's a second party, exclusive live service game. But Helldivers 2 from well, that's a second party technically game as
Mhm.
well. So
Yeah, they have
I guess
yeah.
I guess both of those will be the first two to go here. But they got 10 more after that, so we'll see. Number 4, PlayStation announced the new additions heading to the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tiers on July 18th. Joining the Extra tier are It Takes Two, Sniper Elite 5, SnowRunner, World War Z, The Ascent, Undertale, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, Melty Blood Type Lumina, Dismantle, Circus Electrique, Dynasty Warriors 9, Samurai Warriors 5, My Little Pony, A Maritime Bay Adventure, clever, Fast and Furious, Spy Racers Rise of Shifter,
Clever.
Monster Jam, Monster Jam, Steel Titans, and then over on Premium, getting a few classics. They are PSP's Gravity Crash Portable and PS1's Twisted Metal and Twisted Metal 2, as PlayStation and Sony preps us for the release of the Twisted Metal television series on Peacock. So, what do you think about the game catalog editions this month?
Like, I still think the premium tier is pretty weak, like,
Yeah,
I mean, Twisted Metal is Twisted Metal, but and while I enjoy the classics to some extent, it's like I just know that they're not gonna be great. I don't know, it's just a feeling I
yeah,
get, like, I feel like our Metal Gear remakes are gonna actually be decent.
yeah. I'm going to say something maybe controversial, but I actually agree with Jim Ryan on something. And that something is that I don't think people really, I don't think most people, most gamers really want to play retro games.
I would agree.
Because do you remember him making that comment a while back? He said something to someone in the media about, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something about like the original Gran Turismo on PlayStation 1. He said something like, who would want to play this? And to the to the effect of like, who the hell would want to play this game when you can go play PS5? You know what I'm saying? And
Why would you not play the new one? Yeah.
yeah, and I agree with him. Don't get me wrong, there are some retro games that I hold near and dear. We talk about them: Die Hard, Metal Gear, Driver. Don't get me wrong, but having played a few of these premium games on my PS5, I'm going to tell you guys they don't hold up. Siphon Filter doesn't hold up. Okay, Killzone Liberation doesn't hold up all that well. Better than Siphon Filter, but that's because it's a PSP game and not a PS1 game. But I think in my personal experience, as I've dabbled in some of these premium games, they don't hold up. And I'm almost to the point with these games that like I somewhat avoid them because like I don't want to tarnish, my memory of Twisted Metal. Like I loved playing Twisted
Right.
Metal on PS1. Like I don't want to tarnish that memory of it because it's a certain way in my head and I don't want, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree with Jim Ryan on that.
if it's a complete remaster and it's updated, like, okay, it's a little different maybe, but yeah, if it's basically just like a port,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's what it is.
I'm not interested.
I mean,
But it's
they
yeah.
up-res them and increase the frame rate and give you the ability to, like, save, without memory cards or
Yeah, but
whatever, but,
that's
like,
not whatever.
it's yeah, it's basic stuff. And they give trophies, but
The extra tier isn't too bad though. I mean, Sniper Elite, I'll probably try that out.
yeah,
I know a lot of people that
yeah, we
play
should.
SnowRunner. Dynasty Warriors. That's a big thing I've heard of.
Dynasty Warriors is so sick. I might actually check that one out.
Melty Blood sounds like a disease. I don't know how I feel about it. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, it
Um,
sounds like a disease in fucking Skyrim or something.
wasn't World War Z decent?
Yeah, I
It was
actually own
decent.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on PS5 now, like natively. It's a co-op third person zombie game. It's not
Right.
bad.
It feels familiar. So yeah, I think these are pretty good for the extra tier. Like, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised with the list. You know, not My Little Pony doesn't really do it for me, but it's nice to throw in something for everybody, right? You got a child, you got the goths with Melty Blood, the zombie people. Like you got it all covered.
Uh, Indeed.
The sponge people with SpongeBob.
Indeed.
Oh.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe downloading Sniper Elite 5. You know, it's got co-op. It's got like a 4-player
Hmm.
survival or horde mode or some shit like that too. And I guess you can still co-op the campaign or whatever. I think that's a thing with that game. So looks
That could be
fun.
fun.
I'm looking something up. Did you know that Sniper Elite 5 has 16 player multiplayer, like competitive?
It's familiar. I know Sniper Elite 4 did, and it was impossible because by the time I got it, people were good at the game. So
Oh yeah.
I could just get immediately sniped. It was terrible.
Oh, oh, the Ascent is really cool. I think I already own that, but I never finished it. It's like Dead Nation. You know,
Mhm.
it's like one of those games. It's an isometric top down thing. It's cool. I think you would like that. It's a shooter, twin stick shooter.
Do you know who else didn't finish the Ascent? You know them though. You know them.
Oh, who was it?
The guys at Ocean Gate.
It's not too soon. They definitely didn't finish. Oh boy. Okay. Oh yeah, the Circus Electrique game.
Hmm.
It has intrigued me. I remember when that first came out.
What is it?
It's an RPG where you manage the people within your circus and you
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I pictured Madagascar.
Yeah. No. All right. Number 5. Sony also released the most downloaded games on the PlayStation Store for the month of June this week. On PlayStation 5, the top downloaded game was shocker Diablo 4, followed by Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter 6, GTA 5, Modern Warfare 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales, NBA 2K23, FIFA 23, MLB The Show 23, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Marvel Spider-Man, AEW Fight Forever, Rainbow Six Siege, Hogwarts Legacy, Cyberpunk 2077, God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 7, F1 23, Need for Speed Unbound, and Dead Island 2 at 20 on PS5. Over on PS4, the most downloaded game was also Diablo 4. It was followed by Minecraft, Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5, FIFA 23, UFC 4, Spider Man Miles Morales, NBA 2K23, Injustice 2, Modern Warfare 2, Street Fighter 6, The Forest, and Gang Beasts, of course. Hogwarts Legacy, MLB The Show 23, Black Ops 3, Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat X, which I guess is 10, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and Batman Arkham Knight at 20 on PS4. On PSVR 2, the most downloaded game was Beat Saber, followed by Pavlov, Job Simulator, Hubris, Walkabout Mini Golf, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, Creed Rise to Glory, Kayak VR Mirage, Red Matter 2, and Swordsman VR at 10. Over in free to play, really nothing changed. Your top 3 are Fortnite, Warzone, and Fall Guys.
Hmm.
So, anything jump out to you?
Yeah, as always, nothing to say about free to play or PS4.
Mhm.
On the VR, I think that Walkabout Mini Golf looks like a lot of fun.
Yes,
I know
definitely.
we talked about Creed. Like, if I had a VR, these are the games I would play. And like, eventually, if I end up with one, I'll probably end up downloading all these. Like Swordsman. What is
Mhm.
Red Matter?
Red Matter is I haven't played it yet, but it's like
Hmm.
it's getting great review. It's gotten great reviews. It's a first person sci-fi shooter RPG thing,
Oh,
puzzle
that'd be
game.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Kayak VR, I think would be cool. I know it made you nauseous. Interesting fact: my mom's neighbor's boyfriend died kayaking.
Oh,
Not
that's
from the
certainly a
water. He got
wonder.
out of the kayak and had a heart attack. But that would
Oh.
be a cool thing to add in on some DLC. Drowning would be fun to do. On the 5, Street
Yeah.
Fighter being 3rd is surprising to me. I don't know if it should be, but it is. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I would have thought that NBA would have been higher because it's free, right? Wasn't it free last month?
What
So
was? What is it?
NBA wasn't 2K free last month.
Yes,
So
correct,
I
correct.
expected that to be top 5. So that's a little surprising to me. I love that the racing games are down there at the bottom where us fucking degenerates belong. So shout out to us.
Yeah, it's 3 racing games in a row.
But yeah, like Cyberpunk being up there too is still surprising to me. But hey, good for them guys. Good. They rebounded really well. They should get more credit than they get. Like they took a lot of shit and lost some money, but they made a decent game in the end. So that deserves something.
Yeah. Yeah, Diablo, I don't know if Diablo, it was never really in doubt that Diablo 4 would be the most downloaded game in my opinion, despite it being such a huge month with, Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter 6, but unironically, those 3 games are the top 3 on PS5, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter 6. That checks out to
Mm.
me.
Is Final Fantasy still kind of above a little bit? I haven't played it.
Uh,
I haven't played it since like Final Fantasy 4.
no, it's like a full-blown, like,
Oh, we're third person
action.
now, like Ghost of
Yeah, it's
Tsushima?
like yes, correct,
Okay.
correct.
Alright,
It's like
that's
a
not as
Devil
fun.
May Cry game, basically, now.
I want it to be like Diablo. That's what I want. I don't know why.
Hmm. Diablo's fun. I mean, I get it. I quit. I walked away from it not because I didn't like it, but just there's just too much else to do, and I don't have time to sink all that those hours into it and make a new character to do the fucking seasonal stuff or whatever. Like I'm not doing that.
But yeah, that's how I feel about the games too, but I feel like the movies are like that too. It just seems like we're getting so much shit right now. Like there's
Yeah,
like
true.
4 movies I don't wanna see. Like
Yeah,
and luckily they're going on strike, so I don't have to worry about that, but,
yeah.
it's nice to have now.
True. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, if the video game industry, well, first of all, the video game industry is not organized, like the film industry is in terms of a union of unions, widespread unions. But if the video game industry ever did say we're going on strike for like 8 months or a year, cool.
I
Like
got some stuff to do.
it would give me plenty of time. I got plenty of shit to play. Number 6, we also have a bunch of news nuggets, Travis. We got some very interesting nuggets this week. This is one of the better nuggets weeks that we've had. There's a lot of stuff here. So here we go. First nugget: co-op brawler Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge revealed new survival mode DLC called Shell Shock this week. It is a wave-based mode with 100 unique challenges that scale depending on player count, and it's releasing later this year. Website Video Games Chronicle reported that The Last of Us composer Gustavo Santa, I have no idea how to say this guy's name. Let me try this. Gustavo Santaolalla, because isn't 2 L's a Y sound?
I don't know.
I don't know. Gustavo Santaolalla.
Yeah, he's from the Sinaloa cartel.
I'm really not trying to butcher his name or be disrespectful. I don't know how to fucking say it. Anyway, Gustavo said in an interview with Blender that there is a quote unquote enhanced version of The Last of Us 2 in the works at Naughty Dog. He claims also that in the new version, players will be able to request songs from his in game cameo character as well.
What?
And I don't, he's in the game as a character. He's just like an NPC.
What
Uh,
am I gonna request? Is it like requesting Beethoven to play a ballad? Like, I don't wanna hear that shit.
my guess is you're just requesting like songs from the game, like official soundtrack
Oh.
shit or whatever,
Yeah,
like
but
him, his
if
own
we're in a
songs.
okay, if we're in a post-apocalyptic world, you're not gonna go up
Yeah.
to a guy that you know is the bard and ask for that. You're gonna ask him to play Metallica.
I don't know, bro. I kind of want to hear Gustavo just go ham on that fucking mandolin or whatever he plays.
An old mandolin. That's how you, like, shave onions.
Uh, next nugget: Respawn Entertainment is hiring for what is likely a third Star Wars Jedi game. So good for them. Former Cursed to Golf and Q Games devs have formed a new studio based in Kyoto, Japan, called Dinky Works, which is kind of cool, actually.
Is Kyoto Tokyo?
No,
It's
it's
a
another
different
city.
city.
It's a different.
I always thought Kyoto was Tokyo, but that's what the Japanese called it.
Yeah, no, it's a different city. It's just your dyslexia.
Oh, okay.
Also, EA Sports FC 24 was officially revealed and announced to be launching on September the 29th for both PS4 and PS5. We learned a lot about the game, including that it will feature cross platform play between current gen systems.
I wanna touch on a couple things because I heard a lot of people like, "This" whatever, they weren't excited. First of all, they have a play as a player camera where you play in first person.
Didn't know that, but that's until you
It's
sent it earlier, but that's
yeah,
awesome.
that's fucking cool. And also,
Agreed.
like, what I thought was really cool is if you pre-order the game, you get a 5-star manager, which implies that in the career mode,
Oh,
I'm
yeah, I forgot about
thinking
that.
I'm thinking in the career mode you could hire a manager. Now, what it probably means is you get a 5-star manager for what, your ultimate team maybe? Maybe that's what it means.
No, it
But
said career mode.
it did, that's right. So I'm assuming now you're the owner, which means it's getting rid of some of those bullshit objectives you'd get fired for no reason, you know? Like
Mm,
sign 14
mhm.
players from a West African village you never heard of, and then it didn't matter. Or like sign 5 youth players, you sign 5 youth players, and it's like, no, you didn't do it. So
Right. Yeah,
hopefully those
true.
things are fixed. But like, you know, they've been talking about like you have an agent now in the career mode, like if you're doing a player career mode, right?
Oh, that's cool.
There's there's match ready training, which basically like the training specific to that match, which is nice. And it seems like I would like there to be staff upgrades too, where you could like, you know, this guy is really good at goalie training. Like that was an old FIFA feature from years ago, but it would be nice to add some stuff like that. And then of course they're adding in, like quality of life things like trophy presentations. Uh, you win a trophy, you get to do a parade. They're adding in stuff like that. If you win an award, yada yada yada. So
That's great. That's pretty dope.
yeah, they've done some new stuff. It almost makes me wonder if like getting away from
Mm,
the FIFA title made like gave them some fucking leeway or something. I don't know, but
yeah,
it
maybe.
does look more
They
interesting and
said so.
more different than normal.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up, no doubt. I'm gonna pick it up, you know, instead of buying 2K right off the bat this year. Although, well, never mind. But yeah, I'm gonna pick up FC for sure. I'm excited about it. I'm in a really big soccer mood right now. Thankfully, we only have like a month left
Yeah,
for games. But anyway,
when's that
next
game
nugget
come
here.
out?
Which one?
The soccer
Which
game.
Oh, September 29th.
Oh, that's for fucking ever. Jesus, I'll be dead by then.
Yeah, you could be. I mean, we all could be, depending on what these aliens do. Anyway, next nugget. EA Sports also announced, Travis, that UFC 5 is real and it's getting a full reveal in September. They're just doing all kinds of shit in September. And keeping with EA news, the publisher formally announced the establishment of a new internal studio called Cliffhanger Games. The new team is led by Kevin Stevens, the former head of Middle Earth Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor developer Monolith. Cliffhanger is working on a new third person, single player Black Panther game with Marvel Games.
Just two banger names in a row: Dinky Works and
Yeah,
Cliffhanger.
that is good. It's a great Stallone movie. It's a great Sly Stallone movie,
Yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Was it true that this Black Panther game was in the works and then the guy died and they kind of paused it, or did I dream that?
No, I feel like we did talk about that on the show at one point. That was a rumor. I feel like you might be right about that. Yeah. Anyway, Peacock Productions and PlayStation Productions debuted a new trailer for the Twisted Metal show this week ahead of its release on July 27th. Got to be honest, didn't watch it, but I'll give the show a chance. For posterity's sake, for our show, I'll give it a chance and see. It's only 30 minutes an episode, so it can't possibly. Well, I mean, I guess it could, but surely it won't overstay its welcome. Also, the Video Game History Foundation said this week that by their estimates, 87% of video games released prior to 2010 are quote unquote critically endangered, like it's a fucking animal, meaning that those games are no longer available to be purchased in any form or fashion.
Hmm.
And I actually thought this was kind of intriguing because you don't really think about that, but they made a good point in the article that I read. They're like, okay, if you want to go, this is literally what they said. If you want to go watch Titanic, you don't have to go track down a VHS tape of, the two tape
Hmm.
box set of Titanic to watch it and a VCR. No, you just go to a streaming service or you can go to Walmart and buy the Blu-ray. But if you want to play those games, a lot of them anyway, apparently 87% of games made before 2010, there's no way to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like without physically locating that original game and the hardware it plays on. And I think that's a uniquely video game industry problem. I never really had considered that when you think
Yeah.
about it, because you can go watch any movie you want to pretty much just about.
Yeah, but Jim Ryan's not worried about it. I mean,
Yeah, true. Who wants to play those motherfuckers?
if they figure out cloud gaming, it feels like the perfect solution. You could just upload it to the database in some
True.
way. I mean, they're the Video Game History Foundation. You'd think they'd have copies of a lot of that 87%. So,
Yeah.
or better yet, there's some virgin in the basement that has every fucking copy of Sega Dreamcast. So, like, there's a good chance it exists.
I think this is the same organization that is doing what you just said. I think they are gathering physical copy of every game ever produced, I believe.
Oh, well, then perfect. They could
Yeah.
share it out and we could upload it and it'd be great. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a solution. We don't have the technology yet.
We need me and you need to create it so we can be rich and never have to work again.
Okay. I can barely use Excel. So,
Also, also, Travis, a LinkedIn post from a Ubisoft executive has allegedly outed the release date for Assassin's Creed Red, which is Ubisoft's Japanese spin on the franchise. According to Arissa Lagunzad's profile, what a name, the game is scheduled to release in 2024, with Ubisoft currently seeking a partner to handle the translation of the original Japanese text for the game.
hmm.
So there's that. A
Well,
lot of
I do.
samurai games next year.
Yeah, I say I like that they, originally wrote the text in Japanese. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So we're gonna have Assassin's Creed Samurais, and then what's the other one? Like 6 Days of Shinobi or something like that.
Rise of the Ronin.
There it is. Yeah, so we'll
Yeah,
have
yeah,
that.
true. No Ghost of Tsushima though. Mark it
Yeah.
down. Next nugget: PS5 owners can claim a 6-month trial of Apple TV Plus until the end of July. PS4 owners can also claim the trial, but only for a mere 3 months. So definitely do that before that DiCaprio Scorsese joint drops.
Is it only on Apple TV?
It's going to be in theaters actually too.
Okay.
Also, publisher Limited Run Games announced some new retro collections for modern gaming consoles this week, and they include the Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection featuring Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park Part 2, The Chaos Continues. LRG is also producing a Gex Trilogy collection, which will feature Gex, Gex Enter the Gecko, and Gex 3. Publisher Nacon officially confirmed that Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown has been delayed to early 2024 on both PS4 and PS5. They also shared the first look at gameplay for the open world racer this week, and I gotta say, it looks pretty bland. Looks pretty boring. Don't know about that one.
It looks like a bunch of women at Starbucks who are white. It's like that version of video game, you know what I mean?
Uh
Like
huh.
they're all wearing tight jeans and a floppy hat.
Yeah, it's the basic bitch of open world racers.
There you go.
Also, HBO's The Last of Us received 24 Emmy nominations, which is second only to the final season of fellow HBO show Succession, which is wonderful. It was nominated for prestigious categories such as Outstanding Drama Series, Outstanding Lead Actor, Outstanding Lead Actress, and Outstanding Guest Actor for one Nick Offerman. So, very, very high regard and high praise for the show. So we'll see how many it wins. Final Fantasy 16 DLC is quote unquote being explored, according to the game's producer, Mr. Naoki Yoshida. A remake of Need for Speed Most Wanted is coming next year, according to Simone Bailey, a voice actor for the original game who let the news slip on social media.
Loved Most Wanted, so I hope it doesn't destroy
Yeah.
what I love about it. I mean, if it's if they just made that game, but like with all of our new shit, it'd be really fun.
Yeah.
But
Just go
whatever.
play Need for Speed Unbound. It's
Well,
wonderful.
it's endangered, so.
That was quick. Also, Travis, PS5's Access Controller will release it globally on December the 6th, with pre-orders opening on July 21st for $89.99 US dollars. Insomniac Games revealed the PC specs for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart this week, and most notably, it will not require an SSD at the minimum required spec. This, of course, comes after the studio and PlayStation both touted that the game would not be possible without the PS5's SSD. So they lied to us, but just goes
Mhm.
to further show you that you should always take what these companies say with a grain of salt. Listen, I understand why they both said what they said at the time, and I also understand why they've made it work without the SSD now, because you want to have a low barrier to entry,
Mhm.
and it can't be a great experience because the spec, if you don't play with an SSD, is like 720p and 30 frames per second, and
God.
I don't even think it's unlocked 30 frames, so it's a shit experience. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but still. Also, actor Luke Charles Stafford claimed on social media this week that he is appearing in the 2024 iteration of Call of Duty as a main character named Ratcliffe. which website Insider Gaming believes is in reference to former British Army Major Peter Ratcliffe, who fought during the Gulf War. So we're getting a Gulf War Call of Duty.
I like the idea that it's in the Gulf War, but the way they got there is kind of weird. Like, you know what I mean? Is it maybe it's based off of Daniel Radcliffe and it's a Harry Potter war game? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
come on, guys.
perfect. Also, People Can Fly has opened a new AAA studio in Montreal, Canada, to work on a new game with the director of Just Cause 3. So they now have a head count of about 600 people. So it's a big place, big studio. Website Push Square reported that lifetime Final Fantasy franchise sales have now crossed a staggering 180 million units sold, thanks to all you fucking nerds out there. Amazon's The Boys TV series has brought characters to Call of Duty, including Homelander, Black Noir, and Starlight. And so Call of Duty is just becoming like an adult Fortnite at this point.
That guy's name is Black.
That's true. That's true.
That's stupid.
Yeah. Also, PlayStation Plus Extra game Humanity has received a new update that added new features to the game's level editor. A new end-user license agreement for Media Molecule's Dying Dreams now allows some player creations to be used outside of the game for either personal or commercial reasons. PlayStation Plus Premium members can enjoy a 3-hour trial of Ed Zero Zombie Uprising on PS5, and they can also play a demo for real-time strategy game The Valiant, which I've just downloaded this evening. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported on a couple of throwaway notes from the latest FTC drama this week. For starters, the FTC's Wikipedia page was vandalized with their logo being changed to the PlayStation logo earlier this week after they were defending filing injunctions and appeals against Microsoft. More importantly, however, we learned that Microsoft forecasted that Starfield and Indiana Jones would sell 10 million copies combined on PS5 before decisions were made to cut those versions. And I disagree slightly. I think Starfield would have sold that on its own on PS5. I mean, let's be real. It's not selling less than 10 million on PS5.
So why cut it? That's $500 million.
Yeah, they just want to get people to buy Xbox. I get it.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, I guess it makes sense, but like, you're guaranteed $500 million. Guaranteed. You know what I mean? $500 million in this motherfucker. Yeah. But right, I don't know. Okay.
Whatever. No, I get it. Also, Assassin's Creed Mirage was confirmed to not feature the dreadful RPG-based leveling system that has been in recent entries in the series. Thank God. God, I'm so hyped for this game. Please, it's sounding so good. Sounding so good. Also, first-person shooter Hellsweeper VR is launching on PSVR 2 on September the 21st. Guerrilla Games stated at a recent industry event that the studio will be, quote, continuing Horizon for a long while, end quote. They also revealed that they nearly cut flying out of Horizon Forbidden West because of the difficulty that they were having getting it to work on PS4. And I am concerned that they are going to, like I've said before, they're going to oversaturate us with Horizon shit like Ubisoft does with Assassin's Creed.
Or Tom Clancy.
I
get one of those every 6 months.
Yeah, true. Also, a new job posting at PlayStation's London studio seems to reveal that their upcoming fantasy co-op shooter set in London itself will feature spellcasting and a roster of heroes similar to Overwatch. So it's a hero shooter. Sony is currently testing a feature that will allow expert players to help other players in real time, according to newly discovered patents. It would allow players to request expert help to get them out of frustrating situations.
Microtransaction.
Yep, definitely.
You pay me $2, buddy. Mm-hmm. I'm right here. I can do it for free on YouTube. I just look it up.
Exactly.
I don't understand why I need that.
And then what if they get in there and they can't do it?
Yeah, well, you fucked yourself.
Yeah. Call an ambulance, but not for me. All right. Let's see, where are we here? Next nugget, website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: PUBG, Dreams, Overwatch 2, Rainbow Six Siege, F1 23, Diablo 4, Dying Light 2, No Man's Sky, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. It gets updated every week. That's fucking crazy.
Mhm.
Modern Warfare, that's a single player game too, I think. Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DNF Duel. So if you've been waiting for some new content or patches, performance fixes, check those out. Also, Bungie has said this week that it has no intention to abandon the Destiny series, regardless of how well Marathon performs when it launches. Early screenings of the Gran Turismo movie have come back quite positive this week, with one reviewer calling it, quote, one of, if not the greatest video game movie ever, end quote. What do you think about that? That's
Did you quote
extremely high
GT
praise.
Planet?
I guess so.
God damn it. They fucking it's a okay. GT Planet is just about Gran
I don't
Turismo. Of
know.
course they're gonna say that.
Yeah, is that really where that came from? Is that what you sent me the
I
other
thought
day?
it was.
It could be. Though, man, that
Okay,
makes a
well
lot of sense. But to be
what is the
fair, there were other
greatest
people saying it was good.
okay, well what is the greatest video game movie then? Like how
I
low
guess
is the bar is what I'm asking you. Is
I
it
guess that
Uncharted?
fucking I guess that fucking Mario movie that just, crushed everything.
Oh, that doesn't really feel like a video game movie to me, but okay. I see what
Yeah.
you mean. It feels like an
Yeah.
IP. Like it's an IP.
It
Like
certainly is.
I don't know, whatever. I guess. Okay. It just
Yeah,
doesn't
I
seem
know what
like
you're saying. It's
it's not
Mario.
like
It's not real.
right. Okay. But it's not
Yeah,
like
Mario's not real. I get it.
Christopher Nolan made a bunch of like this is the greatest Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan film ever. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Man, when that Metal Gear Solid movie drops with Oscar Isaac, that's gonna be the best one ever made.
Is it?
Yeah.
Which snake is he?
Oh, he's solid. It's
Okay.
rock hard Snake.
Okay, cool. Good. I'm glad he's rock hard snake.
Uh, also, co-op heist shooter Payday 3 will require a constantly online internet connection, so it's could be a problem for somebody. Developer Gardens, which was founded by brothers Chris and Stephen Bell, who previously created games you might have heard of like Journey, What Remains of Edith Finch, and Sky, announced that they have received $31 million in funding for its upcoming ever evolving online PvPvE fantasy adventure sandbox action RPG. Holy shit. Some notable investors include former PlayStation president Jack Tretton, the Nintendo family organization, PUBG publisher Krafton, former Take Two CEO Ben Feder, Valorant co creator Stephen Lim, and the founder and former CEO of Blizzard, Mike Morheim. So, some big fucking names behind this
Right.
game. So, there must be something here.
Right. And it sounds like they're just fucking going for it too. Like that
Yeah,
is a
I'm,
huge description of a game.
I agree. I'm in because Journey, Sky, What Remains of Edith Finch, all wonderful games. So, in for this for sure. Also, website Gamatsu, reported that Limited Run Games is bringing Tomba to PS4 and PS5. Publisher Astrolabe Games, which sounds like a lubricant, is bringing a slew of games to consoles, including deck building card game Zero Division. It's so close to
Mhm.
Astrolube or
Yeah.
Astroglide, whatever the fuck
Astro
this
Lube's
shit
making a new game. It's a dick building card game.
is. They're making a dick building card game called Zero Division.
Mm.
And also roguelike action game Metavoidal,
Oh.
Chanbara Films inspired action game Gurai, Metroidvania Sophie Starlight Whispers, and a 2D Metroidvania game Anatine. Top down twin stick shooter Zombie Soup will launch for PS4 and PS5 on August the 10th. Irem Collection Volume 2 will launch for PS4 and PS5 on February 20th. It will include shoot 'em up games like Gun Force 2, and Air Duel. Atari will release Lunar Lander Beyond based on the 1979 arcade classic to PS4 and PS5 in the first half of next year. Story driven 3D platformer Sephony will release for PS4 and PS5 on July 21st. Boss Rush co op online action game Trinity S will launch for PS4 and PS5 on October the 20th. An enhanced version of Super Famicom survival horror game Clock Tower is coming to PS4 and PS5 early next year. 2.5D platformer Double Shake was announced for PS4 and PS5. If you shake it more than twice, you're playing with it, by
Yeah,
the
you
way.
don't double shake your cock tower.
And Double Shake is due out next year as well. Super Mario RPG inspired Another Crusade was announced for PS4 and PS5. It's releasing this fall. Turn-based RPG This Way Madness Lies will come to PS5 later this year. Interactive animated adventure game RZ, The Jewel of Faramore, was announced for PS4 and PS5. It will launch later this year. Shoot 'em up collection Kyoko Kyoku Tiger Heli was announced to be coming west for PS4 sometime this fall. Virtual reality cooking game Umani Grove was announced for PSVR 2, but no release date was given. Post-apocalyptic action adventure game Roadhouse was announced for PS4 and PS5, and it's scheduled to release next year. Shin Megami Tensei inspired RPG Pry Into the Void was announced for PS4 and PS5, but no release date was given. Rhythm action game Super Crazy Rhythm Castle was announced for PS4 and PS5, and a release date was announced. The making of Karateka, the first game in Digital Eclipse's Goldmaster series, will launch for PS4 and PS5 later this year. Saturday morning cartoon-inspired first-person fantasy co-op roguelite game Myth Force will launch for PS4 and PS5 on September the 12th. It looks wonderful. Open-world space looter shooter Everspace 2 will launch for PS5 on August the 15th. Action RPG Monolith Requiem of the Ancients was announced for PS4 and PS5. It will launch sometime in 2024. Horde Survivor and farm simulation game hybrid Wispike Survivors Sword of the Necromancer will release on PS4 and PS5 on July 20th.
That sounds like a disaster.
It does.
We got to plant these crops so these necromancers come floating over.
It sounds bad. Also, the Caligula Effect 2 launches for PS5 on October the 17th in North America. I just realized I wrote the Caligula Effect like I'm British. And October 20th in Europe. Oh boy. Narrative-driven interactive musical game Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, has been delayed a week to August 10th on PS4 and PS5.
It's about cat gods.
Ghost hunting action RPG Banishers Ghost of New Eden will launch for PS5 on November the 7th, and it looks wonderful. Excited about that one. Behavior Interactive announced that they are opening a new studio in Truro, Cornwall, United Kingdom. The new studio is comprised mostly of former employees of Antimatter Games.
Is that one place or three places?
That's a great question. We need to ask the fucking British that. Like, what are they doing over there?
You don't say Nashville, Tennessee, United States of America.
They
just say Truro, United Kingdom. We know what it means.
They probably want us to, though. Just like they want us to use that bastardized metric system horse shit. And what else? Drive on the wrong side of the road, and
Yeah. All right. Don't worry about it, guys. We'll save both world wars. You keep your metric system.
Yeah. Hope it was worth it. Hope it was worth fighting for.
You know what's funny is we're like the closer in both wars. We just let everybody die, and then we just showed up and took all the credits.
Yeah, it's like it's like the fucking memes. Like, hold up, let them cook.
Yeah, exactly. They're tired. We'll show up now.
Yeah. Jesus.
God.
You're welcome. You're welcome for this wonderful world we're living in. And finally, Travis, Gamatsu reported that Tencent subsidiary Lightspeed Studios announced it has acquired developer Lucid Games, a one-time PlayStation second-party partner, and the developer, of course, of Destruction All-Stars. So they're a Tencent company now. I think they were in bad trouble. I think they needed the money badly. So that's all for the news this week, and I'll turn it over to Travis now for this week's new game. Hang on a second here. What the fuck is going on? One fucking game. What did I miss here? That won't do. I'm sending you a link.
All right. Here in the USA on the 11th, we had Rainworld Downpour and The Valiant. I think The Valiant's a band. Maybe.
Could be.
On the 12th, we have Mordau.
Hmm.
Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals and Sea Horizon. On the 13th, we have Atelier Marie Remake, The Alchemist of Salzburg. That was French. Ed Zero Zombie Uprising, Gravity Circuit, Naraka Blade Point, Operation Wolf Returns, First Mission VR, Paint the Ball, Risky Woods. On the 14th, we have Exoprimal.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's all Push Square telling me about.
All right, so that's all for the new games this week. Exoprimal is a big one, I would say. It's on Xbox Game Pass, but it's also on PlayStation, of course. And from my time with the closed beta, or maybe it was, I don't know, some type of preview thing we did, I know, for the website for Gaming Nexus, and it's wonderful, especially if you have friends that you can play with instead of randoms. Really fun game to check out on PS5 and on PS4. And then there was another one in there that you said, but I don't remember because I don't have. Yeah, I have it in front of me. Sorry. What else? Oh, Mordhau. Yeah, I just reviewed that for Gaming Nexus. Gave it a 6.5 out of 10. It's no Chivalry 2. Let me tell you that. Let me put it that way. It's no Chivalry 2. So there's that. And that's all for the new games this week. We'll start to wrap the show up here like we always do by discussing what we've been playing and anything that we're looking forward to. What do you got?
I played Helldivers. Obviously the first one, not the second one.
I wish.
Yeah, good time. I got a couple pods fell on my head, and then I had the bright idea that I should take 3 turrets with us, and then drop them at the extraction point. That way we could just hide out. And it didn't occur to me that the turrets would spin 360 degrees and then kill all of us. So
Yes.
that's a pretty good decision on my part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the minefields are also a lot of fun. But I love the fucking shotgun on the game, man. You just destroy people with it, dude. It's like it's fucking
Yes.
gnarly. I think I have it upgraded all the way too, so it just does work. It's a good time. What else did I play? Played Battlefield on the new, what do you call it? Control, I guess. What is it called?
Yeah.
Control.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I actually like the game mode a lot. After you've controlled the points for long enough and got all the data out, they move around. It kind of keeps the game fluid. It makes you not kind of, like if you're playing Conquest or whatever, you can get stuck at E for the whole game, and that's fine. Sometimes it's great, but sometimes the control makes it to where you use the whole map in different ways, which is kind of fun. And because of that, you play in different ways with different characters. You can snipe, you can shotgun. You just depends on where your team is and how well you're doing. And
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. I had to drive the brawler, which I did not want to do, but that was actually a good time. I didn't mind it. All I did was drive around, try to run people over, and while everybody else shot stuff. So
Yeah.
then I played F1. I finished my first season on my career.
How was that? Did you win?
Yeah, won the title, and
Of course.
it was crazy because like the difficulty just would swing so much from race to race. Like there'd be races where like I would win by 25 seconds, and then there'd be a race where I couldn't keep up. Like I could barely finish 10th. So
Mm,
that's not uber unrealistic, but it is in a sense. Like
sure.
I don't know, I just couldn't figure it out. And like it wasn't like it was a track difference. You know what I mean? Like if it's a high speed track versus a really technical track, you would expect that. But it wasn't. It was 2 high speed tracks, and one I was slow and one I wasn't. It's like, well, they're the same. like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the car I built was built for high speed. Like it wasn't built for cornering. So I should have sucked the cornering tracks, but it wasn't always the case. But anyway, a couple things that were cool was I got to save a bunch of parts from the regulation changes, so I was in good shape moving
Wow.
into the next season. I actually managed to save all of the ones that were in danger. And then my whatever you call them, my team had found new parts to upgrade, so that was pretty cool. Um, like Aston Martin and Alpine randomly got really good at the end of the year. Like they jumped above Red Bull and everything. So it's kind of like the RNG is kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dynamic weather is really cool. It made a couple of races really fun at the end of the year. I really enjoyed that. But I did catch the glitch in the off season, so I didn't. The driver I wanted to sign, I didn't have enough money for, because you don't get your money from the sponsor until after the season. I thought you'd get it after the last
Mm,
race. So I hadn't
right.
saved my money for him. But now I know what to do. So this year I'll save all the money I can so I could sign Lando or Albon, either one I'd be cool with, but I didn't have the money this year. I didn't want to sign Fittipaldi again, so I had to sign somebody. So I signed Jensen Button, who is a real driver. He's retired and he won a world championship once, but I picked him because he's still active. Like he does Le Mans and does some NASCAR stuff. So I thought it was kind
Mhm.
of the choices. It was realistic because I wanted to see how a really highly rated driver would do in the car as a teammate,
Yeah.
kind of as an experiment. It's like if it doesn't really matter, he's like a 92, but after all the upgrades that I had and everything in the off season, he's a 97 now. I don't know why. He's like, it's ridiculous. And the game glitched because I tried to change my primary sponsor and then change my engine provider because my engine provider has a 75 on performance, and I had enough money to buy Mercedes, which was like in the high 90s, and it kept crashing every single time the game. So I literally thought just wait a couple of days, they'll upgrade it, but I decided not to. I decided to hit the button to see if it would work, and it did. So now I have the car with the 75 overall power, and yeah, I'm not so sure. So I'm like, I've done the first practice, I think, before I saved it, and I was like sixth fastest on mediums, and then my teammate was seventh fastest. So we'll see. I'm a little worried that the power thing's going to be a problem, and I'm not going to be competitive, but we'll see how it goes.
Like you said, we played Battlefield 2042. I think Control is my favorite game mode on the entire game. Out of the almost 2 years that we've been playing it, I think it's really well done. I really like the size of maps that they've chosen for the mode, how it works with the points rotating and all that, and like you said, it just creates all these different types of engagement. You got sometimes you'll need to snipe, sometimes you'll be up close, etc. So it's really well done in my opinion from that standpoint. Really enjoy it. We did play Helldivers, as you said, just trying to get lubed up, get prepped for number 2 here imminently, hopefully. But I also started kind of dabbling, working through my backlog as I was waiting for the servers to go live for Mordhau. So I played. I talked last week about how I played some Hogwarts Legacy. I left that behind because it wasn't really speaking to me. So I played Gotham Knights a little bit, and it wasn't really doing it for me either. So then I played Marvel's Midnight Suns, and it wasn't really doing it for me either. So I eventually settled on The Witcher 3, which is comfort food for me. And I never played the PS5 upgrade. I started it, but played 30 minutes of it. So I started it again, put a little bit more time in it, and yeah, so far it's really good. It's hitting some spots for me, unlike everything else that I just said just about. But then, of course, the last thing that I played, like I mentioned, was Mordhau, which is a online multiplayer medieval melee combat game, in the vein of Chivalry 2, but nowhere near as good as Chivalry 2. As I said, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10 for Gaming Nexus. And the weird thing is that this game, Mordhau, came out in 2019 on PC. Chivalry 2 came out in 21 on PS5. And then they had another 2 years after that to kind of iterate on their own game, being Mordhau, to compete, in my opinion, with what I think is the best game to do what these games are doing on the market, which is Chivalry 2. So it was fine, but below average, in my opinion. So that's everything that I've been playing, and everything Travis has been playing. That's it for the show. So we'll get out of here now. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to rate it, or I'm sorry, don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a new episode delivered every Monday on your podcast feed. Also, if you leave us a rating or review, it's very helpful. Helps us a lot in the algorithms. We'd also appreciate likes and comments, heart stars, all that good stuff. Very helpful. Don't forget to hit us up on social media. You can find us on Twitter at the DualSense Pod, but we're also on Threads and Instagram and Facebook, if you please. Our website is the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com. You can get the show notes and or the episodes and the show notes there each week, in addition to our pictures and our bios, if you please. But yeah, hit us up and chat some PlayStation with us. We'd love to hear from you. We'll get out of here now. One quick housekeeping note is that next week, the week of July 24th, we will not have an episode for a change because I'm actually going on vacation, and there's just no way that I'll be able to prepare notes and then get back next weekend and do a show with Travis and all that. So we're gonna skip one, and probably what will happen is that PlayStation will announce that they've bought every other publisher and developer on the planet, and we won't be able to cover any of it. So anyway, we'll get out of here. Thank you for listening. As always, have a great week, and we'll talk at you next time. Bye-bye.